Hello, welcome back to Tony Dock Station. It's been a long time coming, I know, but we are finally starting the new layout. So welcome back to Tony Dock Station. As I said, today we're starting the new layout. So for those of you that have been following the channel for a while, will know that I've recently had to take down the layout that I had up in the loft as we've moved house. In the loft we've got in this place, the hatch is half the size of the old house. So although I can get all the boards out of the old loft, I can't get them into the new loft. And also the loft is a lot smaller, and it's where we've got it pitched on three sides because we're in an end terrace. There's just no room up there to do anything at all. So I am going to be moving that into a different property, but that's a story for another. So this is the loft hatch, and already you can see the beams in there, which is another part of the problem, but we'll get to it. But just to demonstrate actually how small this is, that is literally half my arm width from my elbow to the tip of my fingers. It's probably less than about 1.5 feet, so it's pretty small. And then even getting up into the loft, it's a completely different style of trussing. So we've got the pitch on that side. We're also pitched on that side and pitched on this side with only sort of a flat area here. The actual, in terms of standing space, is literally from sort of this beam halfway across here and across here, up in there, and you can't really do anything this side. I could do what other people have done and put boards sort of between, but if I come up into here, I can't really stand in here. This is my, if I stand, I'm having to duck. Ugh. And with the hatch being there, it's just a bit of a nightmare really, getting over there. So that's sort of why it's a lot different up here. Again, I know I can put boards across here and maybe do like a U shape, but there's just so much in the way that in terms of actually doing modelling, I mean, I'm crouching over right now, it'd just be so uncomfortable to do anything up here really. So yeah, that's the problem with the loft. Today we're going to be building a new layout in this area where I'm sitting. It's going to be just a small little layout. It's going to be 4 foot from here to here, and it's going to be just under 4 foot from there to there. It's going to be like an L shape. So today we're going to be focusing on building the baseboards, and then you'll sort of see the area that we're working with. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, so you've got a better understanding of what the footprint of the layout is going to be. That's 4 by 2 there, and then this is 2 by 1.5 foot there. So we're going to have 4 foot by 4 foot, and then this sort of cut out here. These boards will be sort of removable as and when required, but it'll be sort of a semi-permanent connection, similar to what we had up in the old loft layout. And also, I mean, this is sort of how I'm thinking of doing it, but I can also sort of rotate that this way and put that on the end there. The way that we're going to build the baseboards today, it gives us the option to put them around anywhere we want. So we're going to get cracking with it with this formation for now, and we'll go from there. Okay, so in today's video, the tools I'm going to be using, amongst some others, but these are definitely the main ones. I recommend some clamps and some grips, some C clamps, G clamps, a mixture of them, or whatever you can get your hands on, because it will definitely help with holding things together, because you will find doing it by hand can be a bit tricky sometimes. Good old-fashioned hand tool with adjustable screw heads, for example Phillips or flats. Small drill bits for drilling pilot holes for screws. So this is, I think, a 3mm drill bit, just for drilling pilot holes for screws to go into. Again, when you're sort of trying to hold bits together, having a pilot hole for the screw to find is very useful. Pen or pencil, spirit level, big or small, spirit level will definitely help you. A right angle square, this is just an absolute must for doing any sort of woodwork. It will definitely help you, and you can pick up sets of these with all various different combinations of them for a few quid. It's definitely worth having in your toolbox because you can use it for other things as well. Screws I'm using today are 4x30mm. That's going to be the main screw I use. I do occasionally use some 4x40s, but the 4x30 is definitely going to be the main one I use. And good old-fashioned wood glue, doesn't have to be Gorilla, it can be just any brand. This is actually just, I have it laying around. It's new, but I've had it in my toolbox for a while. So, and a drill. There's nothing wrong with doing it by hand, and there are certain things that I will be doing by hand, but sometimes this will help speed things up. And a decent hand saw, and it will pay dividends in the end to get a decent one and not just any old cheap one, because you will get a cleaner cut with it. But yeah, and some other things, but those are just the main things that I'll be using. Okay, so because this is going to be downstairs and I want this to sort of look sort of semi-presentable, it's going to be slightly different to the loft layout. I'm not going to use wooden legs. I managed to find these, which have actually got adjustable feet in them already. Although this floor is going to be pretty damn level because it's laminate flooring, if there are any undulations of any kind, I've got the adjustable feet built into these here. They are metal and they are gloss white, and they've just got a simple 4 screw connection on there. I was going to look at getting some legs which you can put a plate on and the legs screw into, but they just became very expensive very quickly. Like this leg here I got for, I think it's like £4, so now I need 6 legs basically, 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 5, 6, because those are going to be joined there. So, and this to say was £4, and the sort of legs with that, they jumped straight up to like between £16 and £19 each, and I was like, I'm not going to be paying that kind of money. They were also a lot larger and a lot chunkier and far in excess of what would be required here. Even these, you could argue, are over-engineered for what this is here, but I also now wanted the ability to have the legs removable. So I could very easily just screw these into the baseboards, obviously the other way around, screw the legs into the baseboard and then the frame would surround it, so the weight would basically be being supported by the actual board. The problem with that is obviously the screw will go through and up the other side of the baseboard, which I can then trim off, not a problem, but then it's a pain to remove the legs. If you risk sort of potentially snapping the screws and warping the baseboard and stuff like that. So I had to come up with a different idea, and it's pretty simple, but it just involves getting some wood, which these are 2 separate pieces of wood here to the footprint of that. It's effectively 2 separate bits of wood, and then once this is screwed in, it will hold those together, and that will end up looking like one of these. Now I've got, say, these 2 bits of wood here. Now what that means I can do is I can still put them in the corner. So I can still put the leg in the corner like that, but it now means that not only will the weight be on here from the board, but when the frame surround is in, so if I just grab this one as an example, so the surround will be like that. It means I can screw through this way And obviously again, when the board's here, I can screw through this way. I can put 2 screws in there, 2 screws in there. That will hold the leg in place, but the weight is actually still being supported by the board, but it will give it some rigidity here. Now what that means is when it comes to taking the legs off, I haven't necessarily got to get underneath and screw it out from the baseboard. It's just 2 screws out from the side from each leg. The leg will pop out and it can go back in exactly the same way. So that's my plan I've come up with for those. So we've just got to do 5 more. Okay, so with the legs all done, I'm quite happy with how they've turned out. Onto the actual baseboards. Now, materials that I'm using, I'm going to be using the same materials and the same design as my previous boards. They worked for me, they were good and they held their own, so why fix something that ain't broke? So for those of you that don't know, the top board is going to be 9mm hardwood plywood, or just 9mm ply, and the frame is going to be 12mm. I've got a mixture of hardwood plywood and 12mm softwood, purely because softwood was what I had in the loft and it worked. No problem with that if I had some of it left over, so why not use it? And then just for the extra little bits that I needed, they didn't have the softwood, so I went for hardwood. Now yes, there's a difference in colour, but because as I said, I've got these gloss white legs and I want this to look semi sort of decent, I'm not just going to leave, I've not like with the loft boards, they were sealed and treated but just with a clear coat. I'm going to actually paint all the boards white to match the legs. I was going to go black, but I've just gone white. It sort of matches the room and hopefully sort of blend it into the walls a bit better anyway and not make it stand out so much. And plus I can always paint it black afterwards, so I'm going to go with white first. So yeah, 12mm for the actual frames, 9mm for the top, and a mixture of hardwood and softwood, but there's nothing wrong with doing it in all softwood, and I would have done if they'd had it. And likewise, there's nothing wrong with doing it all in hardwood, as long as you're using the 12mm for the frame, just because you've got that bit of extra thickness for the screws to go in sort of vertically, and 9mm for the top board. Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about, you know, building this board from start to scratch, because it is exactly the same as my last video. So if you look, let's go there, I'm going to have a link to that video there. Click that and you can watch that video, and that will go through the whole thing from start to finish. But in a nutshell, for those of you that are woodwork friendly and don't need to watch it, or those of you that just don't want to, I'm going to quickly show you. It's just a case of finding the nicest looking side. It's going to be on the outside. Now I know it's spray painting these white, obviously it's full of knots, they will still maybe show through the paint, so nice smooth side for the side I want to be the outside. And again, this is going to be the outside that's sort of facing us, and then it's just a case of bolting or screwing and gluing that onto there, and then it'll be the same, another one there for support in the middle, and again at the end, and then the other board will just sit on top of that. So effectively it will be a box with 2 vertical supports, and the top board goes on top of that. And all I'm doing is just marking out the edges here. I run a line down, which is 12mm, and then I'll mark 3 screw holes, and then again screw holes in here that will get glued And whilst the glue is drying, screws go through vertically, screws go through horizontally into here, and that holds the frame together. Okay, so as you can see, I've done the 4 cross supports, and we've got the main side on the top there. Oh, got the phone. Main side on the top there. And all it is, as I said, it's just a case of 3 screws in horizontally. It would be horizontally because this is actually on its side. And then the remaining board will go on there like that. So it's nothing too complicated at all. And so it's just wood glued, which is just drying in there. It's for extra support, and then the board will go on top and the legs underneath. Okay, so that's the main baseboard done. As you can see from the time lapse there, it's a relatively straightforward job and very similar to, well, no, not very similar, exactly like my loft design. There's the gap at the back here, so we can slot the back seam in across there. So there'll be a 12mm bit of ply and the back seam attached to that, and the back 12mm ply battens just drop down vertically in here. So that's the main board done. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put in the legs and see how that goes. And just like that, the legs are on. So, I appreciate it's a bit dark here, but just so you can sort of see, they sort of rest on the blocks. And then the screws go inside, and depending on which orientation you're in, sometimes there's 2 and 1. So there'll be 1 there and 2 on the other side, and yeah, it's pretty damn rigid. And just to show my usual test, feet off the ground, and I'm sitting on the table, rocking it. If you hear knocking, it's against the radiator, but it's pretty damn strong. And then all that's left to do now is put the spirit level on it, just the individual little feet. And that's that. And just next to build that one. The other benefit that I've done by putting the 2 inside and the 1 inside here means that when this has got the scenic on top of it, if I'd have drilled down through the board to put the leg in, I would never be able to get the leg out, because, or even if I'd gone up, because of the scenery. So this way, no matter what goes on top now, I can always get the leg off just by removing the screws on the side. Okay, so that's the last board done. I haven't put the legs on yet because it will depend which orientation I put the boards. So I'm going to, because I might put the 4x2 there and the smaller one there, and vice versa. So depending on which end we go for, we'll put the legs on there. And obviously I need to take the legs off of this, spray paint them all white, and then I'll be able to put it all back together. So I'm going to end the video here because it is all built. And then in the next video you'll see them all nice and white, and with the orientation that we go for, because in the meantime we're going to start some track planning as well. So thanks very much for coming back to the channel, and I hope you're as excited about this as I am moving forward. And yeah, so we'll see you all in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, and give me a comment below. That'd be great. I really like interacting and chatting with you guys. And yeah, thanks very much. Take care. See you all soon. Bye bye.